Morning. Hi, hi, hi. Good morning. Good to have folks here. Hi, Claudia. See you. Jackie, good to see you. Enjoy. Hi, Tracy's here bundled up again. And Della, yay. Hi, Jacqueline. Good to see you. Well, we have two Jacquelines, two Jackies. Or how, yeah, I'll have to ask both of you later. That's awesome. That's not a very common name to have twice in one Zoom session. Lucky us. All right, let's let the rest of the folks in. I see Jermaine is here and Marcia Lynn. Great. So, anyone ever hear of Thomas More before? Do you know Thomas More? Some yeses and some nos. Yeah. I you know how things happen in life sometimes it's sort of I don't know. I think nothing necessarily is with by accident, and sometimes more often than not or more than not. And this week I have three books underneath one of my plants to kind of prop it up, and this was the bottom book. And I actually like overfilled the plant, and so it kind of started to spill. So I the other two books I don't really care as much about. This one I do, but it was just the perfect height to like get it that like right where I wanted it. Anyway, so this one didn't, it just got like a little wet at the bottom, but I pulled it out and I was like, gosh, I haven't looked at this book in a really long time. And so I just started reading it every morning for the last couple of days, and it's just wonderful. For those of you who don't know, he was a monk for a good part of his life. I think he started when he was like 13 or something. At least he had an interest when he was very young, and he's still alive today. I looked him up this morning just to see. He's 82 years old right now, lives in New Hampshire, and he stopped being a monk. That's what it was. He was a monk for 13 years, but he also was interested when he was younger as well. Um, anyway, he was, let's see, he's a writer and a philosopher, and I think he's a psychologist as well. But really beautiful perspectives on life and whatnot. And so I thought I would start our session today with just a couple paragraphs from one of his meditations, as they're called, while I also let people in. So for those of you who don't know, in case anyone is new to this, I always invite people to turn their monitors on. And hi, Jermaine. I didn't say hi to you yet. And Cass and Suzanne, great to see everybody. And Julia, hi, hi. You're welcome to turn your monitors on or leave them off if you like to, but it's always nice to see your faces. And then also find a nice comfy place to sit, somewhere you can be nice and cozy. And oh, I forgot my tea inside. Oh well. Oh no, wait, it's in my pocket. Yay! It's really cold out here today, so I was really looking forward to having a nice warm tea. Anyway, bring your tea with you if you want to. Inside or outside is great. If you're inside, just make sure you can kind of crack a window or something so you can hear what's going on outside. Because today we'll be tapping into all of our senses at different times throughout our practice today. So if you can crack your window, that's great. And at least just have your window a window in view. Okay, so we're going to start with a little bit from Thomas More today and the chickadee. So he says, the monk's relationship with nature is essential to life, but this relationship is not sentimental. It is not basically aesthetic, not environmental, not naturalist, not agricultural. The monk knows that without a constant and intimate relationship with nature, divinity is not fully revealed. The monastery at the edge of the sea or at the top of a mountain or on an expanse of farmland is proximate to nature as revelation. Without knowing nature, we cannot know who we are or what we are not to do. Let's see. We cannot know who we are or what we are to do. That was it. Nature shapes us as much as we shape nature. And in that mutual engagement is the fulfillment of both. He goes on to share a few more things, but I think I'll just stop there because that was lovely. I love that idea or the thought on that nature shapes us and we also shape nature, sometimes for better or worse. Um, but there is that mutual relationship there. And I think we tapped into that a little bit last time with the idea of walking into a ceremony that you were a welcome guest at. And so this idea that we're not separate from the natural world. And the more we can become a part of it, the easier and more likely it is that nature will just, kind of like Snow White, for instance, nature will just come around us and not be so scared of us. And so today we're going to tap into all of our different senses and also do something that I think is really essential to be um, more tapped in as a bird lover and someone who is really keen on bird language, understanding bird language, and that is the idea of quieting our mind, quieting what goes on within our body, our emotions, and all of that. I think that's really essential to having that relationship. So we're going to do that today. So go ahead and find your cozy seat, somewhere comfortable to sit, and remember that this is always an invitation. You don't have to do anything I suggest, but if you'd like to play along, then you're invited to do so. And of course, binoculars are welcome. If you see something cool and you want to check it out, go for it. So find yourself in whatever position you're in. If you're seated or standing, it doesn't really matter. Seated is just a little bit easier. And just let yourself be here for a moment, noticing where the earth is in relationship to you in this moment, and just see if you can tap into that connection with the earth. Imagine that umbilical cord that is still connected between you and the earth, that one tie that's never broken. What does it feel like for you to be connected right now? Just having that image of a beautiful cord connecting you to the earth, feeding you in the ways that you need to be fed right now. And so in this moment, just want you to take a nice deep breath in with the intention of smelling the air and then letting it go. Just noticing what the quality of scent is. What is it that you're smelling right now? How is that shifting from last week or the week before? And now with the awareness on your breath, notice if your breath is shallow or is it deep? Is it rapid? Is it just relaxed and calm? Notice if you have made any decisions about what the breath should be right now. And just see if you can just allow it to be what it is. Bring your attention to your posture, noticing how you're sitting right now, and do your best to sit in whatever's comfortable for you, but as much upright as possible, where you're just imagining that the crown of your head has this string, in a sense, connected to it, and it's just like pulling your crown up. So a nice tall posture, expanding your body as fully as possible, allowing as much breath in to your lungs, into your body as you can. And now find with your eyes, without forgetting your breath in that gentle rhythm, find a place for your eyes to focus on that's a good distance away, kind of at the farther reaches of your vision. Find one point, one item to look at right now, and just focus all your attention on that one thing right now. And then allow your gaze just to soften so that you're taking everything in. So a moment ago we were focused, and you're still going to be looking at that point you were focusing on, but now with a much more softened gaze. So you can take everything in. And as your gaze expands, see how far out it can reach. Can you actually try to see behind yourself? I know most of us can't, but just imagine you could. How far expanded could your vision go? How far can you stretch it? In all directions, up, down, sideways. And while you're in this softened, expanded gaze, just notice if your breath may have shifted. Notice if it's changed at all from just even a couple moments ago. And now we're going to bring our awareness to our ears. So bring your attention to whatever sound is most interesting to you in this moment. And just be attentive to all the different textures of that sound. Notice where it's coming from. Notice who or what might be making that sound. Just really allow yourself to be present with that sound right now. And now, without losing your awareness of that sound, go and shift to a sound that's quite a bit quieter than that one. Even if you were already listening to a quiet sound. And we'll layer on one more. So we have our first sound we were listening to, a quieter sound. And now let's go to a sound that's louder than the very first sound you were listening to. And see if you can hold all three of them in your awareness. Are you still attuned to the smell of the air, the scent of the air, as well as your softened gaze? Has your gaze allowed you to perceive something that you didn't when you first sat down? Now, while you're just allowing the sounds to roll in and the sights to just come and go as they do, bring your attention to your skin and just noticing how it feels to be in your skin today. You can first do a scan on the inside, noticing how your muscles and your bones might feel right now. And then you can shift it to the outside. Even if you're sitting inside right now, you might still be able to feel a little bit of air, maybe on the tip of your nose. And if you're outside, maybe you can feel the sun on certain parts of your cheeks or your hands. So, with that question in mind, or with that idea in mind that nature shapes us in a similar way, or maybe as we shape nature, there's that mutual relationship. We're going to focus on one sense at a time today during our practice. And again, in case this is anyone's first time, we will have a chance to chat at the end. So we'll do that at the very end, but for now, we're just going to sit in silence mostly, except for a couple times I'll be chatting in. So we're first going to bring our attention to our eyes. So back to our eyes again. And if you'd like to stay in that softened gaze, going in between softened gaze and focused gaze, and just noticing the shapes of the earth, noticing as you're looking around how you might have shaped the landscape around you. And then just asking that question, how is what you're seeing shaping you in this moment? And you don't have to think too hard about it. Just allow whatever comes to come. You put the question, start with the question, and then just clear your mind. Allow whatever to come. And then I'll let you know when we're going to shift to a new sense. So we'll sit here for maybe 3, 4, maybe even 5 minutes. We'll see. Okay, fantastic. So you don't have to let your awareness of your vision go by any means, but we're going to shift to another sense. So now we're going to shift to our ears and asking that same question. How do the sounds that I'm hearing on the landscape shape me? And how do the sounds that I create, or us people, shape the landscape and shape the natural world around us? So again, just ask that question and just let it go and just see what comes. And we'll sit for a few minutes. All right. So we're going to add one more sense in now. And that is, it's a more subtle sense. So we as humans, modern humans, I should say, don't pay as much attention to this one unless it's something that's really strong. And that is our sense of smell. So asking the same question, what are the smells in my area that are shaping me right now? And what smells do I as a human create that might be shaping my environment right now? And if you'd like to, for the last 2 minutes of our sit, to get even deeper into this sense of smell with those questions, you can also close your eyes and just allow, really, by shutting off one of your senses, you heighten the others. So tapping into your nose right now. All right. So if you had your eyes closed, you can open them now and just go ahead and send some gratitude out to everything that you were able to see, hear, smell, and interact with in whatever way you did today. And just take a moment to do that. All right. So, as always, would love to hear from folks. Anyone want to share about their morning experience first? We'll start with you all, and then, of course, after people have a chance to talk about this morning's experience, we can hear from folks if they want to talk about anything else that happened in their week related to birds, of course, birds and nature. Yeah, so and if you like to share, just go ahead and raise your hand. I'd love to hear what that was like for you, just to tap into that. Apologies for the siren. Tap into that question of, uh, you know, how is the how is the world shaping me around me, and how am I shaping the world around me in all the various senses? Yeah, Jackie, I see you down there.
So how I shaped my yard apparently provides lots of invitations. I have a path, I have a rock river, I have bushes that are high enough that I could snuggle under. So I hadn't really realized how much my yard offers that to me, and I'm very grateful.
Oh, that's such a beautiful image. Um, Currently, I rent my house, but when I was sort of asking that question, it came up of like the house, my dream house that I want to create and design, and that's a beautiful image to think of, um, those ways that we can invite, all the invitations that you have created in your landscape. That's awesome. I love that. Thank you. Anyone else have anything they want to share about what you became aware of? Yeah, Jermaine, go ahead.
Just that it's kind of the opposite for me. I was thinking of the things that I've done locally in the yard that are invitations, but it's mostly to the birds and everybody coming in this horrible day here. I mean, it's snowing and blowing and just cold and not very inviting. But they're in there getting everything, that I put out there. And I've sat here for this meditation and not seen a bird come to the feeder on nice days, what I mean? I haven't seen a thing, but today it's just like a madhouse out there, and there's doves on the ground and everybody coming in. It's wonderful. And I guess it's not just the feeder. There's a rhododendron behind the feeder where they all go to sort of come into the feeder. It's like a safe spot for them, and also somewhat protective because it's sheltered. Rhododendrons, hold their leaves in the winter, and so it's kind of sheltered for them, especially on this mean blowy day, which must be just sapping them for energy. Oh, there's a red belly. And I guess other things are the deck and all that. That's not really for the birds, but I put some water out there this morning just in case, anybody would come. Didn't look like anybody did, but I thought maybe they might need that on a day like this. And so there's a lot of invitations, as you said, but I feel like that I made that invitation, or I extended that invitation, and they're taking advantage of it and enjoying it. And it's full circle. It comes back to me enjoying them too.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Right. It's how that question that Thomas posed of, it wasn't a question, it was a statement, but I like it as a question of how are we being shaped by our environment, and how is our environment shaping us? Um, and I think what you brought up, it also came to my awareness. I think by sitting with this question, it really can provide us with maybe some more depth of answers of what the natural world might want or need around us. When you sort of ask with that awareness, then you can start to see, like, oh yeah, I did provide that roadie over there, and that provides shelter and cover. And I wonder, maybe my water bowl might need something for them to feel safer around, or it just starts to like expand those questions of what the natural world might need, or maybe just for us to even see it, stuff we do that we don't realize, like, oh, that's kind of cool, they use this thing over here that I didn't realize they were using. And yeah, thanks, Jermaine. That's really nice. Yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
Good morning, all. So today is a dreary, gray, rainy day, but as a result, everything else was so much more vibrant. So even the palm tree across just seems more vivid today. And my favorite hummingbird, Squishy, decided to stop and pay a visit. So he is just vibrantly pink. and he was singing his little squishy song. And he has entirely shaped me in this yard. He was my spark bird a few years ago. I spent my entire life not paying any attention to birds or nature around me, and now I can listen for him. And because he brings me so much joy, and we sing along. So there's that too. There's the color and there's the sounds. I've made a point of making my entire yard just so welcoming for them, because he kind of welcomed me into his life, not to be too like hippie, but like he came to me and he followed us across the way when we moved, and he still visits and sings with me, and I play him music. So it's just giving a lot of thought into how joyful it has been that these birds visit every day, and as a result I learn more about how I can provide for them, and they have brought just so much joy into my life. And so every time I learn something new. And I did a little happy dance yesterday because my neighbor right behind, I mean, I feed so many birds, there's so many bird feeders back here, but she just got her first bird feeder, and I'm totally going to take credit for that.
Right on, Tracy. That's awesome. Congratulations on the neighbor bird feeder aspect, and that's a sweet connection, the story to your hummingbird, and how you two are shaping each other right now. Yeah, and your each other's environments. That's really beautiful story to hear. Thank you. Awesome. Who else wants to share?
I
Marcia,
will.
I see your hands up. Yeah, Marcia Lynn, go ahead.
Yeah, I have been doing the bird sit kind of across the street from where I live, and that's on the ground. I mean, so I'm above, I'm call my place the treehouse, and I have a huge deck. And so it was and I went out to set up kind of a break in the storm, and it started to rain, and then there was this rainbow too. So and it was cold out, so I like came back in and went on my computer instead of the phone. And so I had all these kind of visual differences and sounds, and being up on the deck, sound can kind of go up sometimes, like car sounds or different things. So that was really interesting that I hadn't sat on the deck to do this for a while, or in my house. And so it was just, I thought it could rain. I'll put the chair that I sit in out there. And then it was like, oh, it is rainy, come back. But this rainbow was still going on until, over what, a half hour? It started to do a triple rainbow, very faint, very, very faint, like, I would tell you it happened, but but yeah, you know what I mean? And it was a full rainbow, and I couldn't tell how far the second fade and the third one starting was it'd be reverse for you this way. And it was, so I was excited. So to be able to sit down and, do the meditation kind of, I'm like, well, look at the rainbow, look, and then the wow of a third section, and it's still here. And, that was great. And then of course, when you went to smells, I had made myself a really big breakfast. It's Martin Luther King Day, and I'm not working. And it was, so all the breakfast smells are like in my, in my home, in my place. So it was like, yeah, but then the breeze picked up, and then I started smelling the desert sounds. So, but anyway, so I did use the chat a bit today, which, so anyway, okay, you liked it. Okay, great. All right, thank you. And yeah, it was really magical. So anyway, all right.
Thanks, Marcia Lynn. That's fantastic. How exciting to see the rainbow and just connect with it in that way, and also the difference of going inside versus outside, and that distinction that the different ways that you connect with your land there. I'm glad you tried to be adventurous, at least to start out with. I know you said you haven't sat there in a while, so well done. And yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work, you know. You just got to deal with it.
Yeah, and it was getting a little chilly just now. So like I came in, I do have my door open, but I just said, no, just come in if we're gonna just chit chat a little bit. So, and then typing, I had to decide on gloves or no gloves. I couldn't type in with, the gloves on so well. But anyway, it was fun. It was just little things. And then of course the sounds were very fascinating in the clouds, but yeah. But enjoy all of you and your stories too, by the way. So thank you.
Right on, Marcia Lynn. Thanks. All right. Any other stories? Yeah, go ahead, Julia.
Okay, well, I've been doing the habitat gardening almost 30 years. Of course, it was a slow start. I didn't know, but over time, I realized that I'm conscious about the things I put in my yard and where they go. For instance, like having something close to, or putting a feeder close to an evergreen that they can hide in, and so on. But it has changed what I think is beautiful. I can look at another yard that has, just a nice solid hedge and a whole bunch of green grass, and they can be chosen as the yard of the month in the neighborhood. And I look at that and I say, oh, and I have to kind of fight with people sometimes. I help with the gardens around the church, and they want to clean up all the dead stuff, for the winter. I said, no, that's the food for the birds. And I love it when I see coneflowers that have been eaten. To me, that's just really beautiful. And 20 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that. And so, also, I think, what I do for wildlife. I mean, if I put anything in, it says, well, what about the insects or the birds or the rabbits? Or, what is this going to be useful to someone? And then to my eye, that becomes something that's beautiful. When I might not have, in the old days when I was just thinking, what looks good in the yard, what looks good in a landscape, I wouldn't have chosen that plant. And it's also, there's a lot of variety in here. I just think, I see something that I want, I want to do that, and I just have to find a place in the yard for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes,
So yeah, once I'll close with this. Well, the Tulsa Audubon maintains a wildlife habitat teaching garden at one of the local high schools. It's about 2.5 acres, and so it really is a teaching garden. And one of the teachers there kidded me and another woman who's really the mother of all this. They said, what do you call someone who just collects all these plants and just keeps collecting plants? And I said, we're horticulturists. The best joke I've come up with. So anyway, yeah. Thinking about nature has changed my eye on what I think is beautiful, my judgment, I think. And thank you for this.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you. I think it's a good shift of perspective, because even for myself now with my garden, sometimes it's hard to resist that urge to want it to be tidy, and it's like, because we've been patterned for so long, I think, to have tidiness, and you're supposed to clean up in the fall and whatnot, but the knowledge that standing dead stock is going to provide, like, I just sort of wait for that day when the chickadee's hanging off of it and eating the seed, and I'm like, yay, it's doing it, and it just brings so much joy. And I think in that beautiful way, we can certainly help to shape the lives actually of the natural world, and because we do, we're just being a part of this world. That's something that that we do. And so what a beautiful thing, Julia. And I'm going to remember that, a horticulturist. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. Let me just see, Tracy, I'd love to hear from you. Let me just see if there's anyone else who hasn't shared yet, that wants to offer anything this morning. Anyone else have any inspiration they want to share? All right. Yeah, Tracy. Okay. Wait, one second, Jackie. Oh, Jackie's waving goodbye. Okay. Go ahead, Tracy. Go for it.
That made me think we have this little area here. So we do rent, and the landlord was like, okay, you're gonna have to clean up the weeds. But for the animals, but we have this huge aloe patch. I don't know if you can see. And so I'm able to keep all the dead stalks, and it's home to so many of the little birds that hang out and the cactus mice. And you were saying the dead stalks because they'll like hang off of them and they'll eat them. And it's like a whole little jungle gym. And it just, yeah, it looks dead and ugly to some people, but I love it. And I'm like, okay, I will clean up all the other weeds, but I get to keep this patch because it's such a nurturing environment for all these creatures that come to visit. And I've learned so much about like what they need. And yeah, it might not look, pretty. I'm not going to win any prizes, but it is so good for all of the creatures. And so it makes me happy to see them play in there.
Yeah, depends on who the judge is, I suppose. If nature's the judge, you might win some prizes, but yeah. Yeah, the dead stalks are amazing, and just knowing all that can happen inside of them. There's certain wasps and certain insects that will lay their babies in the stalk when they're still green, and so in the wintertime, the birds will come. And I watched this chickadee once like move up the stalk. It wasn't even going for the seeds. It was moving up the stalk, and then eventually it found this one spot and it just started digging into the stalk, and it was pulling out an insect that had been sort of, cocooned inside the stalk. And there's just so much that can happen. The other day, there's a broken off stalk, and I watched this titmouse go over and it actually took one of the seeds from my bird feeder and was trying to stuff it into the whole of the dead stalk. I was like, oh, you little sneaker. Here. But it's okay, because the cardinal the day after was going around trying to like recover some of the seeds that the titmouse had stored away. So anyway, yeah, wow. Well, that was a good one. Thank you, Thomas Moore, for that great meditation, and thanks everyone for playing along with that one. Yeah, Julia, do you have something else?
Could you send that along to us?
Yes, certainly. What I'll do is I'll add it to when I send along the link for the video, I'll put the name of this book. It's not very big. It's beautiful. It's just like every page has a different meditation on it, and he calls them meditations, but they're just little stories, of his time, mostly in the monastery, but other times as well. And so it's really lovely. Yeah, of course, I will happily do that. Thanks for asking. Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, have a beautiful week. May you carry on these thoughts and intentions with the rest of your week if you do any more sits, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for this beautiful day, you all.
Yeah. All right. Have a beautiful time. We'll see you later.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.